2018 Global Legal Hackathon in Tel Aviv, Israel. My name is Cori Goudchaux, and I am the host for today's show. Joining me today, I have Aviv and Dov. Before we get started, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Hi, my name is Aviv. I'm a doctoral candidate at Osgoode Hall Law School, also a fellow in IP Osgoode, and my research is about artificial intelligence, technology, and copyright. And I'm very excited to be here.
Excited to have you.
Hi, my name is Dov. I'm a professor at the IDC, the Interdisciplinary Centre Herzliya, which is a small private university here in Israel. I have a doctorate in genetics bioinformatics, and I am a lawyer, and I'm broadly interested in all areas of innovation and technology and law.
Well, thanks for joining us. Is this your first legal hackathon experience?
Yeah, actually it is, and I was very happy to hear from you and asking me to be here. I'm actually visiting Israel. This is like in this time I usually teach at Osgoode, but that's an incredible experience, and I'm very excited to be here and to take part in this hackathon.
And you're actually a judge today, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Fantastic.
The first judging appointment I have.
Fabulous.
One of many.
One of many.
Yes. Dov, how about yourself? Is this your first experience?
This is my second. I did one in Madrid, in Spain. I wasn't blown away with what we got there, but I'm really hoping to be really excited about what we're going to see today. Seems like a lot of promise.
Absolutely. So how would you explain the, acceptance level or the landscape of legal tech as it, pertains to the education system here in Israel?
Well, I think that Israel is very open in general to innovation. So I would say that we have plenty of students that they come from different backgrounds. And I also think that's one of the leading points in Israel is the experience in the military. So given that we have, several good units, technological units.
Sure.
So I think that our graduates actually, when they finish with this army service, they come to the academia with more experience in technology, in areas in technology like units like 8-2000 and others. So I think that this is why Israel is so good and innovative. So I think that's one of the reasons we are leading in this area.
Yeah. So I've noticed though, Israel being known as, startup nation.
Yeah.
In my experience here, I have noticed that the legal industry seems to be even a little bit further behind as far as legal tech. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. So, and I'm just taking from my experience in Canada. So we do see some difference. For example, I think that in Canada they're more advanced in some of the aspects, and in Israel, yes, you can definitely see that there is some sort of clashes, and I think that in many ways the legal spectrum, the legal industry is very slow in considering technology as part of the business agenda. And I think that this is partially the reason because it takes a lot of time to get into that business and take into these laws and regulations. And I think that is something that's probably lawyers will get more and more involved in the future. But it's difficult to say why this is happening and why it's happening in these levels and these stages.
Sure. Dov, I think as far as from an education perspective, lawyers are inherently taught to be risk adverse. Do you think that that's actually part of the barriers in legal innovation?
Sure. Law firms, particularly the large multinationals that are based in the US and in the UK and whatever, they're definitely risk-averse dinosaurs that are unwilling or unable to look to the future. They have a lot of expensive legacy systems. It's really hard to steer the ship and make it turn. But I think that's something that works to our advantage here in Israel. Israel is not a large market for legal tech.
Right.
We have our distinct language. And so I would think that most entrepreneurs here in Israel are looking outside for their markets. And maybe they don't know how dinosaur-like and how risk-averse the foreign law firms are. And that allows us to be a little more entrepreneurial than, let's say, someone in the US might be. That might have a better appreciation for how hard it is to sell legal tech to a law firm that just doesn't want to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see a difference with the students that you're now teaching in the law schools? Do you think that they're sort of pushing to be much more tech advanced?
Well, our students we have an interesting cohort of students for two reasons. One is all our students are basically post-Army. Okay. So they've all had a sort of a life experience. Oftentimes that life experience is in the area of technology. whether or not they're in intelligence or engineering core or something like that. But they're also here on their first degree. So as opposed to the US or Canada, where law is a second degree, here in Israel, it's an undergraduate degree.
Okay.
And so they are probably a little more naive, a little more bright-eyed in terms of where they can push the technology. U.S. students are maybe a little more jaded in terms of pushing technology in their field.
Yeah. So obviously the GLH, we're about to hear some of the pitches from some of the teams here. Is there anything or any specific area of law that you're hoping to see some disruption or you're hoping to see some advancement? Either one of you?
Yeah, I have to think about that. I really hope to see some interesting ideas in the ways that we can, technology can help us to find ways to get students more engaged. I think that's, and this is something that's, I think Dov probably share my, my feeling that it's very hard to get students involved in classes today. Like when you get into the class, you get into the seminar, students, like using their laptop, the Facebook, WhatsApp, everything. It's very hard to get them concentrated in what we are doing. So finding ways to get the students more engaged in classes, to find new ways to teach students, I think that's something that technology can help us with. And we see that today with, trying to use podcasts as part of the teaching experience. I think that's a very cool method to get students more involved. So this is one area that I really hope to find, new ways to do that. And obviously, we mentioned that yesterday, we hope to find ways to use predictive analysis as part of the teaching experience, as part of the tools that we can develop in the academia to help students, to help the academia, and to help the teaching experience to be better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think as a professor here in Israel, I cannot compete for the eyeballs of my students against Netflix or WhatsApp. And not only are they taking my students' eyeballs, they're also taking my bandwidth. And when I was a law student, they could cut off the Wi-Fi in the classroom, but that's a non-starter here because we just have cellular data. So I'm really hoping for some really interesting technologies that will engage students more in the classroom and outside the classroom, have them become more excited about the law, not because they have to get through law school, but because it's something that's really is of interest to them. And again, if we could find some great technologies that would help us get those eyeballs away from Netflix and onto the board or other sort of ways to teach the students or other sort of ways to engage the students, that would be really great.
Right. Well, we've reached the end of the road here for today's episode. I want to thank our guests, Avi and Dov, for joining us here today. We also want to thank our listeners for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. I'm Cori Goudchaux, signing off from the Global Legal Hackathon in Israel. Until next time, thanks for listening.
If you'd like more information about what you've heard today, please visit LegalTalkNetwork.com. Subscribe via iTunes and RSS. Find us on Twitter and Facebook, or download our free Legal Talk Network app in Google Play and iTunes. The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.